on there.
What was that? Oh,
Sounds like an area.
good. Public comment, is there anyone?
Yes, the Mayor of Marshall would like to introduce Dalen Frank, and I'll have her give us the reason why she's here. If you want to speak up loud, that would be great, Dalen.
Hi, my name is Dalen Frank. I'm here because I have to observe at least one Police and Fire Commission meeting for my criminal justice applications class. It's a semester project.
And where are you in school?
Mid-state in Wisconsin Rapids.
Well, of all of the police and fire commissions in central Wisconsin, you came to the best.
Sure. And then Dalen, what happens in January?
If I pass the PRT, I start the police academy.
Outstanding. Excellent. We'll see you there.
Wonderful, Dalen. Welcome, welcome.
Good for you. You'll find that we're very responsive and good at what we do. The problem is we're not sure what we do. All right, approval of the minutes of the August 15th, 2024 regular meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of that. I'll second.
Thank you for the motion. A second. Any comments, changes, questions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. News updates.
You'll notice that there were two incidents, one in Pennsylvania, one in Texas. Again, we have personnel being struck at scenes of corrections. One was the Pennsylvania fire police officer. Fort Worth, the driver, the highway on the opposing exit and drove into the scene of the semi-fire. Please note again on the fire service line, deaths, cardiacs, and non-medical emergencies, which usually are cardiacs again, predominant. We talked last week, or at the last meeting, about our grain bin response capabilities. In Richmond, just acquired a complete set of apparatus, including auger. So at least in that part of the state, they are covered. Just two more items. On September 4th, Commissioner in New York City added 32 more names to their honor wall. These were the firefighters that died in 2022, 2023, 2024. And total now of illness deaths is 363 compared to the 343 firefighters that died at sea. And related to 911, last night at the library, Chief Altman gave a very good presentation of the incidents from beginning to end. And then some of you may remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a school shooting in Nashville, shooting at a private school. Tennessee Star newspaper finally acquired through extensive legal process the shooter's manifesto, and it's now. I have downloaded a copy. I read through part of it. It is scary. Simply advise you to download that and read through it. It gives you great insight into the story.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but when I thought of it, so I get that one here.
52 pages.
Oh, my.
That was only one of, this was the manifesto, there are 20 of them.
Disturbed minds, there are a lot of them. Thanks. Approval of fire department bill.
Morning. We had two sets of bills this month. The first set was signed by Commissioner President Andy Keel on August 28, 2024, and the second set was signed by Commissioner Bill Panker on September 11, 2024. Most of the bills were routine operating expenditure for the month. We do have an item of interest in the billing cycle. If you look through, you're going to find various charges for our rehab trailer. What we did is we are utilizing our rehab trailer right now in place of our squad. Our squad is going to be refurbished. So we've got various costs that came out of that. I just wanted to point that out because all three of our shifts have worked very hard to put that trailer together to make sure that we have all the equipment to respond to the incident. And for those that may not know what's all on the squad, it actually carries all of our equipment for confined space rescue, high angle rescue, and some of our components of hazmat. So it's got quite a bit of different stuff, and it's all our special. So they went above and beyond to make sure they had that equipment ready, and did a great job with that. Another one that you're going to see is Firefighter Training Development and Coaching LLC. This is for our high angle rescue training recertification for that we contract for each year. That's just to make sure that we have rope rescue training. Battalion Chief Dave Briggs from Wausau Fire Department conducted rope rescue training for all three shifts over the last couple of days, and today will be their last day for that. They've done an excellent job, and our shifts really look forward to that training, so it's a good one to have. Other than that, I didn't have any other ones to point out. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for the chief about this month's bill?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve fire department bills. Any comments or questions? Hearing none on, we gotta do a roll.
Banker,
Yes.
Hirschman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Neat. Ms. Lips.
Sorry, I had it muted, yes.
And Keel.
Yes. Hearing from the fire department reminds me, and I'll forget if I don't do it now. On the wall behind us, through the wall, there's a, what do you call it?
We an X, Otter X.
Yeah, anyway, Redshift did that.
That's correct.
They prepared a thing for Jody when he left. And it's really very nice and very well done. So among us, if you haven't seen it, just go out that way and as soon as you be.
It's right on the other side of the door, right across from the 9/11 Memorial.
And I also found out, and I didn't know it, that's the largest piece of 9/11 steel that was taken out of New York City or around the country. Because it was intended to be built into the new building. And the building was too far along and all that sort of stuff. So they sent it anyway. But that's the largest piece in the country, the 9/11 building. I thought that was sort of neat. A police department bills, chief.
Good morning. We also have two sets of bills in your packets. The first was signed by Commissioner Hanson on the 28th of August and the other yesterday by Commissioner Kirsch. In the review of the bills, I didn't see anything that really stood out to me. However, I'd be happy to answer any questions before your approval.
Are there any questions or comments from the commission concerning the police department bills? Apparently you didn't, obviously overspend this month, so it's.
Doing my best.
I think we need a roll.
I move to approve.
Oh, thank you.
I seconded.
Say that roll call. Hirschman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Neat,
Was that a question?
Yes,
Keel.
Yeah. Now, was that a question or a yes?
mine was a yes. Yes.
Fire department, activities, training reports, and correspondence.
The past month was a very busy month for the department. The department participated in the Central Wisconsin State Fair, public education events, training, fire inspections, and responded to 310 calls. Many activities were routine, but there were a few that I'd like to discuss further. For the Central Wisconsin State Fair, that's a pretty big event for us for the fire department. We basically, throughout the whole week, we spent a lot of time there. In the beginning, and actually prior to, we do a lot of the event planning. We did the incident action plan for that event. Working with all the city agencies, police departments, a big piece of that as well. But that's a lot of stuff that's done behind the scenes to make sure that event goes off smoothly when we do have a major incident down there. Throughout the event that we do food truck fire inspections with Deputy Chief Barnes goes down, looks over all the food trucks to make sure everything's gonna be fine. Make sure that they're following all the rules when it comes to food trucks. We did have the safety trailer there this year. All three shifts were able to staff that throughout the event. And one thing that we found, it was very good for everyone that would come to that. But we also had that chance to actually interact with the public. And in working with them, we answered a lot of questions about fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, just common questions about fire escape plans, things like that. So we did find it to be a very big benefit. And again, this is the first year we've really done this. And we feel like this is something we're going to do in the near future, or each and every year moving forward. We also went to the Dress the Collet market sale, bull riding event, and demo derby, where we provided crews for each one of those events. Another thing I'd like to point out for the department is our chaplain program. Our chaplain has been a big part of our department, has been here multiple days throughout the month, and is really working out well. Does a great job with all of our staff and is incorporated well into the department. So that program seems to be working very, very well, and we're glad to have it. Those are the items that stood out to me for further explanation. I'd be happy to answer any other questions anyone may have.
3 questions.
Sure.
Steve, child death review board meeting, is that at the hospital, is that regional, is that Wood County?
It's Wood County. It's a quarterly meeting, the police department also. Staff, services.
Then, MCI.
Yep, so Marshall Medical Center ran their own internal mass casualty drill, where we received quite a few patients. I was able to go up and more or less witness their drill and answer any questions they had regarding EMS.
Last one. See on the next page, a new vehicle barrier system.
And the mobile vehicle barrier system, that system, we had a demo done on it. And that's something we're looking to do through a grant with County Emergency Management. The police department's been a big piece of that. And then also streets department, and many other agencies within the city and county. The thought process was it would be a regional. And what this allows us to do is block up to 22 lanes of traffic. And it's able to stop with, I believe, a semi truck. So semi at 60 miles per hour. So it can actually move up, and then it basically goes up and incapacitates it, lifts it up underneath it, and then punctures the tanks. It gets up into, so it stops it from moving. If you remember the parade down in Waukesha, this would be something that would allow us to alleviate that, and they purchased a whole bunch right after that event, and they're utilizing this exact system. It was a great way to look at this and display it, and then also see it answer questions.
So this is really blocking.
Correct.
Stops it.
Yep, and it's all, like I said, it's mobile. You can take it apart, disassemble it, put it on a truck and a trailer, and then you can come in and set it up. It goes relatively quick.
You said this might be.
Yes, they found a grant with, I don't know, it's a foundation grant. So it's something that they can apply for, and then it sounds like that's something that can be provided pretty easily. We're very interested in that foundation plus.
So you're talking a wide area, that Wood County,
Wood County. Yeah, it'd be used predominantly for Wood County. Wisconsin Rapids also has many events. They've got the 4th of July event. They've got a few other major events that they're starting to follow up as well.
is this something that would be, if we had one, would this be staged? For instance, we have the RID team, which is staged down below. Is this something that would be staged centrally?
No, this is something that we're looking at staging up. So it'd probably be down in the southern end, but something we can very easily get.
It would use more planned events, so we'd be able to schedule it to be up there, well, city days or.
That was the thought process, just thinking that this is something that can go to multiple different events throughout the county that would be used all the time. So didn't seem like a good idea to buy, but just for the city of Marshall cost.
Anything else?
Yes, I have something. Packet, there's a CARES award. Could the fire chief elaborate on that?
Oh, yes. Actually, I'm gonna turn that one over to Steve. Steve, had a big, the CARES award.
Oh, yep, so the CARES is cardiac arrest registry. Something. Jim knows what I'm saying. I answered this into the CARES program, shortly after being promoted this position back in around 2018. Basically with the CARES program, we document all of our cardiac arrests into the registry. And this is a nationwide registry, so they can track cardiac arrests and try and find where the issues are, where treatment is working, and try and change basically their standard of care. We received, I think that's the first award we received from them, from the participation that we've been doing for you.
Is that satisfactory, Steve?
Yep, thank you very much.
Something came to mind while you were reporting and now it's gone already. Next item on the agenda is to accept the resignation of firefighter paramedic Anthony Halloran, effective September 4th. We always do these things after the fact, but we have to do them. So.
Firefighter paramedic Anthony Halloran notified me on August 7, 2024 that he was leaving the department as he accepted a position in the Appleton Fire Department. Anthony was with our department for approximately 5 years and was a valuable part of the team. His decision was based on moving closer to his hometown in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and his family. We wish him well in the future endeavors and respectfully ask that he accept his resignation effective September 4th, 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any comments or questions? Oh,
Pinker,
Yes.
Hirschman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes,
Keel.
yes. Next item 10, approve request to refill 2 vacant line firefighter positions, which were created by the retirement of interim Chief Clements and the resignation of firefighter paramedic Anthony Halloran, and recommend to the Finance and Budget Personnel Committee. If you want to go through that.
I did go through a little bit from that. With the retirement of Jody Clements on September 3rd, 2024, and the resignation of Anthony Halloran on September 4th, 2024, the department currently has 2 vacant positions. The vacant positions that we are requesting permission to fill will be for 2 recruit firefighters. With the acceptance of the leadership development plan at the June 13, 2024 Fire Police Commission meeting, the following personnel have been promoted. Myself from Deputy Chief to Fire Chief effective September 4th. Brian Barnes from Lieutenant to Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention effective July 15, 2024. Nate McNamara from Relief Lieutenant, Firefighter Paramedic to Lieutenant on Red Shift effective on June 26, 2024. And Lucas Friedland from Relief Lieutenant, Firefighter Paramedic to Relief Lieutenant Engineer effective June 26, 2024. The 2 positions that were not filled in 2022 will remain open. Those are the 2 that were in the budget for next year. And the department respectfully requests permission to refill the 2 vacant positions created by interim Chief Clements' retirement and firefighter paramedic Halloran's resignation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions to the chief about this issue?
Where does this bring us right now to total off the street?
We had 1 open position. We just offered a position, or we had an interview and offered, and the person accepted. So we should have somebody on by the third week in October, hopefully. She's still going to get back to me, or that person's still going to get back to me on that, to make sure that we can fill that position. So we should have one position filled. That would leave these two vacant positions, that we're going to fill right now. And then we would have the two open positions still from 2022. So we'd have two open line spots.
Any other questions? Bill, are you,
I'm fine.
that's a question. Yeah. We've covered everything. In effect, what you're doing is asking permission to go forward with the process of hiring to fill those positions.
Yes.
Okay, we need a roll call on that.
Pinker,
Yes.
Richmond,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mink,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes. Item 11, approve, enhance changing the minimum qualifications to apply for firefighter paramedic with the Marshfield Fire and Rescue Department. Yeah, go through that because, read it in the packet, but,
Yeah, I can hit the highlights on that. In recent years, the department has continued to experience problems with recruitment due to lack of availability of candidates. This is not only a Marshfield Fire Department problem, but also a much larger problem in regards to the fire service industry as a whole. Our personnel are our greatest resource, and we need to revisit how we recruit staff at the department. We currently have no candidates on our recruitment list, and we still need to put two personnel on if approved at this commission, as we have as you did. If you look at page 11A in your packet, you will see your current recruitment model, our current recruitment model, and you can find that. If you look at that, it actually just goes through the basic thing. And what that was is that recruitment model was from probably about 5, 10, even 10 years ago, probably. That's when we had a long list of candidates. I honestly, when we all started, we literally had one position available and you had 100 people waiting to get into that position. Today, it's just the opposite. We've got 2 positions available and I've got 0 people on the candidate list. So we have to kind of start to dig in and find a different way to promote our people and recruit people. Many of the departments, such as Wisconsin Rapids, Stevens Point, and Wausau, are all looking at different recruitment models to overcome the limited number of applicants. If you look on page 11B in your packets, you'll see the option-based system that Wisconsin Rapids is using in their current recruitment process. This came right off on their website, and this is what they're utilizing right now as we speak. Many fire departments and professional trades are moving towards on-the-job training as a means of overcoming the shortages we are seeing in the recruitment process. After discussing this issue with Sarah Dressel, Human Resources Director, we need to look at reducing the minimum requirements and look at implementation of a in-house training system. On page 11C and 11D in your packet, you'll find 3 proposed career tracks that I'm recommending for approval. These 3 methods have been used by the department in varying combinations and have been successful as we've hired and retained great personnel who are very involved in the department. We're also exploring a 4th career track that would entail a different recruiting method that I hope to present at a later Fire and Police Commission meeting. That one's going to take a lot more research and just making sure that we have everything right before we bring that forward. For today, I'm requesting approval of the 3 proposed career tracks that are laid out in your packet on page 11C through 11D. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have at this time.
so you're looking, for approval of these options. The motion. Excuse me?
It all makes absolute sense to me. We have to remain. And it's been a long time since we've looked at these requirements, and they're probably written too steeply in terms of background. So I agree. I think this is a great idea. And I think the motion to change.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Can I ask one question first?
Go ahead.
The residency requirement of 30 miles, is that in conformance with what the city has as policy right now?
Yes, that is correct. That would be the collective bargaining agreement. And that's laid out in the collective bargaining agreement at 30 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? No additional comments or questions. In that case, we have a motion and a second on the table. We need to have a roll call vote.
Banker,
Yes.
Gershman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes,
Keel.
Yes. Forward, chief.
Right.
The next item is, if I have this correct, to review, implement policy.
Yeah.
Fire department.
Yes, that's correct. The department has been working on converting the old policy and procedure book that is in Word format to the new Lexipol format since 2019. This has been an ongoing project that's kind of stemmed a couple different chiefs. When the Lexipol policy and procedure manual is completed, we'll provide the following assistance. It's going to give us that legal compliance that we need. Basically, it's going to go ahead and reference any state statutes and federal statutes that might need to be in there. And then it does this on a regular, it actually does a regular legal update on those. So it's going to go ahead and find the most best language for that. And it'll actually put that into that policy and then update us. It actually sends out an update to us when that happens so that we can go back and reference that and see what happened and why they did it. It also puts some procedural guidelines for us. The manual will help us with the inclusion of detailed procedures for various operations and situations, which will help our department to standardize responses and ensure consistency in our operations. Risk management, the policies will often incorporate risk management strategies to help minimize liability and enhance safety of our personnel and the community we serve. The department is currently working on the old Word format manual and the Lexipol manual, which leads to some confusion. This does create problems to our staff, and it often leads to confusion as to what policy procedure has been approved in Lexipol and what policy procedure is still unapproved in the old Word format manual. To ensure the department has clear and concise information, I'm requesting a phased approach to implementing our Lexipol policy and procedure manual. Phase 1 would be move all the policies and procedures upon approval by the Fire and Police Commission to Lexipol so that we are referencing one policy and procedure manual. These policies and procedures have been in use and approved by previous commissions at the time of implementation. The policies and procedures would only have format changes and not content changes. And then we would stop using the Word format policy and procedure manual immediately upon implementation of that. Phase 2 would be, we're going to set up a review process at the commission's direction to evaluate each policy and make changes as needed. On page 12C through 12J in your packet, you'll find the status of the policy and procedure manual in Lexipol. It gets a little bit confusing because there's some stuff that's in draft, there's some stuff that's in approval. What we're looking to do is just activate all of that and bring it to the front so we can utilize it on a regular basis. And then again, bringing those back, either we bring 8 back to you or we bring 10 back to you, whatever your direction would be, so we can review those at a regular interval and actually have every one of those reviewed over time. That actually concludes my presentation on the process to review and implement policies and procedures for the fire department. I'm respectfully requesting the ability to move all policies and procedures to the Lexipol format under phase 1 and bring a set number forward to the Fire and Police Commission for review and recommendation at regular Fire and Police Commission monthly meetings. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have at this time.
Thank you, chief. Comments or
I
questions?
just have one comment. You know, I think it makes perfect sense just to adopt all those policies. Lexipol is the primary vendor part. So what's really happened is, you know, over a period of time, we just have updates in language. So I think absolutely take full advantage of that system allows you and then gradually roll it out to us to review. Not that it hasn't already been approved, it has already been approved, but you want to stay up with the updates. So I would make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you.
Second on that.
So there's a motion and a second to approve the process that the chief has outlined in his remarks. That I think requires a roll call.
You want to do some discussion?
Well, fine, did you have something to share?
If we look at what Lexipol has done before, it looks like they are to develop policies that are consistent with standards, consistent with the law. And in our current environment, it's critically important. From what I've seen in the past, these are not produced in fire speak. They are understandable. I think a citizen request something through public records, they can understand what is written. As far as bringing these back to us, looking at the numbers, there are quite a few that are in the development process. I'm looking at those that are in approval. To me, it seems easy. Each time they're presented.
Anything more, Bill? We haven't had it all. Are there additional comments or questions? Let's do the roll call and see what we think.
Baker,
Yes.
Hirschman,
Yes.
Hanson, Meek,
Yes.
Yes. Police Department activities, training reports, correspondence. Chief.
Good morning. Wow.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, in your packets, we do have a list of activities. This last month, we were pretty active. I'd like to point out a couple of times where we were able to engage, or a few times we were able to engage with our community a little bit. On the 13th, we had the Lights of Christmas up at Culver's. This is a great event. We hand out some meals and interact with public that come up and buy food up at Culver's. And the proceeds go to purchasing gift cards that we can hand out throughout the year to needy people. And that's a really cool program. We get a lot of gift cards. So that was kind of fun. On the 16th, we had a cop on the roof. Fire department helped us with this because cops can't get on the roof without the ladders. So they helped. Proceeds for that event, Special Olympics. We do that every year. It's a lot of fun. Interacting with them. And then of course, the 20th through the 25th, we were down at the fair. We had a booth the whole time. The fire department also did. We were with Wood County Sheriff's Department. It was a great experience to interact with the public in a little different environment. We had our MRAP on display down there, and we had our canines there, and Wood County had their canines there, and it was a lot of fun. Also, just a special note, our community officer, Derek Iverson, volunteered to help at the Macy booth as well. Actually volunteered his time to hand out bags and things at the Macy booth to help them out as well. So we've been pretty busy this last month, but it seems to be a lot of, like, we were involved in a lot of fun activities. So with that, I would entertain any questions before you place this on file.
I have one question. On the 5th of August, were Officer Klein and Officer Iverson to escape from the Tiny Tigers with Reggie? Or
They showed up
captive?
They showed up at work on the 6th, so they were bruised and battered, but they did.
Very good.
Some interesting things going on. Update on the building, possible new police department.
Yeah, I thought this body would like to have an update. On the 12th of August, council did pass the CIP that had the building in CIP. So there was a special meeting just to discuss the building part of it. We have the lion's share of the CIP the next couple of years. So there was a lot of discussion about it, but at the end, we were supported in moving forward with renovating the Wildwood Plaza. Thank you very much, Mayor. And as long as the budget passes in November, we'll be able to then organize committees to start the planning process and move forward with this exciting project. So for right now, we're optimistic and excited at the same time to move forward with the building. I think it'll be a good thing for the department, and I think that it will be a responsible economic move for the citizens. So we're excited to move forward with that. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that I could answer at this point, but I thought you guys might want to.
I just have one comment. And I know we talked briefly of, I would like to see on this building committee, certainly, people from your staff, assistant chief and yourself, also a member of the Fire and Police Commission. And Commissioner Pinker thought even like Board of Public Works member of the city staff because the city owns the building. And I think part of it is it just adds to the transparency of the process of deciding what is going to be in the building and why. Where it's just not driven by just the stakeholders, but some people outside of it. So that's just my thought. About that.
I agree. We discussed, having a member of the common council on there, commissioners, and we've got a lot of very talented staff in the city that can help plan this. And that's the support that I'm gonna need in moving forward with this project, so.
Yeah, you
I agree.
don't want to lose momentum by some misunderstanding in the community about Nebraska. So.
Agreed, thank you.
I'd also be like on that committee if that works for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You say no to the mayor.
Yeah.
I never assume anything. That's the way life is, correct? That's right, exactly.
Love to have you on.
I'll make a sort of semi-personal comment. Moving forward with this building, we all know that, economically times are tough for the city. But the city has a long history of stepping up when they need to in support of fire service and police service. And this is, I think, another example of a long history. And as a member of the Police and Fire Commission, I really do appreciate the council's willingness to move forward on the facility. We need it, it's important. Public safety is critical. And I think the council is doing the right thing.
If I could piggyback on that just briefly, the CIP process, we're all involved in it, and these are all the department heads are chipping in for us to get a building. This is something that we've only got a limited amount of money to work with, and the department heads are helping our department move forward with a new building by holding back on some of their projects. And we recognize that. Jennifer has done awesome with helping find the money and organize it, and it's truly a group effort. We appreciate it.
I think we all need to recognize the vision of the council and the other departments. I'm not shortchanging that effort either. But it would be very easy to be real parochial about this and say, our needs are just as important as yours and you can suck it up. Well, they're willing to give. And the council is ultimately responsible for all of it. We need to recognize the council for their willingness to serve needs.
I broke the tie just for all those reasons. So yes, I'm very glad that it turned out this way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted before I left the commission was a new police department building. And it's coming. It's great. All right, item 15 is review and approval of policy, police department policies. I think we need a motion here.
Can I just make a couple of comments? I spoke with Jody, and it was interesting to hear from the fire department. Lexipol historically had been previous vendor, still under Lexipol. What I really think, and I had just a brief comment from Bill about the depth of how Lexipol is in terms of the vendor. And I think in some cases our police department isn't getting the support that they require. And what I'd like to do is, based on the conversations we're having, the importance of these policies. Lexipol gives us policies that are both federal and at the state level, and they provide both legal support and language support in terms of what the documents do. What I would like to do is make a motion to table this as the police department reexamines, continuing to use Lexipol, policies which render existing. That's my motion. to
So
table.
your motion is to table moving forward with the police department policies until they have an opportunity to examine alternatives?
Well, we're under Lexipol now. I really think there's three things that were given to me that were concerning. One is, the department didn't feel like they were getting the support in terms of training and utilizing it. The second thing is just a deeper understanding of how they approve policies and then submit them to their staff. So when you think of it, they are the Fire and Police Commission's policies. They need to be absolutely done correctly with federal and state law to be able to protect the employee and also protect the employer. So I think, and Jody's willing to do it, spend a little time with Lexipol, come back and tell us basically what he found out. It just continue with that process.
We've got an appointment at 1 o'clock this afternoon to have a conversation with the representative to see what, if they can help us or direct us to somebody that we can talk to work through some of the issues we had before and see if they can be remedied.
And if they can be remedied, I would see as a commission, our best option, in my opinion, would be continuing with Lexipol. I know Bill's, you've had experience with them.
I'll just add to those comments. First, I may have misunderstood Andy's direction the last meeting, because I thought we were going to discuss each of the policies today.
I did too.
Okay, so I did not submit anything to our peer review. But in going through these 8 policies, I'm very concerned about the wording in some of these, the clarity in some of these. And I guess I'll bounce this off Randy's comment. There, in my mind, there does not seem to be some cross-referencing we have right now. I would agree. I would be very hesitant about implementing some of these. Just based upon their manner in which they are worded. And some things I consider rather serious, but yet they are not appearing here. I don't know how much time I take this morning.
Well,
I prepared.
I just want to be, part of the reason this commission changed the Lexipol is because we did not have policies in place to address situations. The chief, one of the previous chiefs said we couldn't do anything because of this policy document. So that's why that whole evolution process of previous chief Zeps went through to transition to Lexipol to be able to have that language, have a rich, be able to have people have language, and also be able to lay out what the process is. So, I just agree. We just need a table to relook at Lexipol, then come back, have the chief come back and tell us what we found out.
Say postpone, because table means
Well,
later.
let's postpone.
Okay.
Let's postpone.
Bill, are you comfortable?
I am exceeding the time.
Excuse me, I thought about this, and, I think I commented at our last meeting that policy is absolutely critical. It's the guidebook by which you guys do your work. And there's a certain temporal importance. Time is important, but it's not as important as it being right. And clearly what we saw that had been generated by another entity. I agree with Bill, it's unsatisfactory. And And it's particularly difficult because we have optional powers and that gives us additional responsibilities. And there's no recognition of that in those materials. And that troubled me a lot. So I think the idea of re-examining how we go about generating policy and you know, we use the language flexible because they're there and we've used them. But I think finding the best is what we need. Finding what really works for us is what we need, because these policies have to be right. So what have we got now? What is the motion to do what?
Postpone, as policies.
Yeah, now the understanding with that postponement is that it's not forever. And the understanding is that we're looking to find a solution to this. As soon, and the other thing I thought of, and this occurred to me, does anyone use Excel anymore? Yeah. Telling the police, and do you have somebody who is particularly, good at, Lexipol stuff?
Yes, we do. We've got, we leave Lieutenant Paul Takis. He does a great job with it. It's actually,
See, that may be the key piece that's missing. I thought of it yesterday. It'd be like somebody saying to me, build me an Excel spreadsheet to cover the, I wouldn't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. You know, give me a pencil and a big sheet of paper and I'll figure it out, but you're not getting it on Excel. I can't do that. And in some ways, I think you're in the same shape. You maybe have features that you can't use because you don't know how, because you haven't been trained for it. So it seems to me when you talk to them at 1 o'clock, that's sort of critical. Can you get what you need out of Lexipol? And then how do you get trained to do it? And anyway.
Andy, we just add memory. This is just on number 103. I went through, I just did a quick tally of this before, but just on that policy, I got 23 questions. You shouldn't have 23 questions. And some of the others, you know, corresponding to lengths of pages, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
As far as spreadsheets go, Mr. Chairman, I have those things.
Well, I know. You can't shovel the walk without it.
Amen.
Everything's a process.
Yeah.
Right, and all done by hand, drafting.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Bill, thank you. Anyway, we have a motion to postpone, with the understanding we're into getting it done. I think we need a roll call.
A second, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Pinker,
Yes.
Gershman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Theo.
Yes. Thank you. You guys have got something more to do, but it's the way it is. Oh, Travis. Well. Yeah,
You
anyway.
say we, I think you mean. Speaks French.
Review of audited financials for the fire and police departments presented by Finance Director Selinsky. Oh, boy. My goodness.
Good morning. Now that we're more than halfway through 2024, we'll take a look at where we landed at the end of 2023. What you have in front of you is a little summary that I've prepared of financial results. The first page, fire and police are part of the general fund. They really don't have their own standalone financials. So what I've done is summarize their revenue and expenses by categories for us just to take a look at and let you know where their position within the overall general fund. So beginning with the police, they aren't really large revenue generators, but they do contribute some revenue in terms of some grants and fines and some charges. As far as expenditures are concerned, their budget for 2023 was just over 5.9 million, and their actuals came in at 5.8. So they were about 98% of expenditures to budget on an actual basis. If we go down the first page, you'll see their donations account. This is where we account for the Drug Task Force grant and any miscellaneous donations that the police department receives. There's a lot in there. The grant and the dog fund are the primary components of that. It's just, we keep those separate out of the general fund so that they can be isolated to be spent on their purposes. Lastly, their capital project fund, you'll see their debt service, that is for a lease, and I believe 2023 is the last year of that lease, so we won't have that piece of it going forward. And then 2023 was the year that we're trying to catch up on. Between 2022 and 2023 is the vehicle receipt of vehicle time lag. We're starting to catch up with those. We still have a couple vehicles that are still on order. So that summarizes the capital outlay for the past 2 years. If we'll turn the page, we have the same sort of analysis for fire. Fire does generate a little bit more in grant revenues. They're still, they have a little bit in fees. One of the things that I'll call out as being part of the general fund, and there's a shortcoming in revenue that's used to help balance not just the fire's budget, but the general fund as a whole. So we'll want to be careful when we're budgeting revenues that we aren't overestimating what we really will materialize. From an expenditure basis, the good news is the actual spending of 3.7 versus a little over 3.8 budgeted was more than the shortfall in the revenue. So no harm done from not meeting revenue, but if the fire department had spent 100% of their budgeted expenditures and missed on revenue, that means that revenue shortfall wasn't met, and we had to dip into our fund balance in order to make sure that the general fund as a whole is in a good position. Same thing with their donations account. They have just miscellaneous donations from community members for certain, thank yous that they can spend as designated by their community members. Capital projects. This is for such things, vehicles and equipment. Part of the training center is allocated in here. Mostly right on track with budget, not a lot of delays coming there. And then in 2023, we wrapped up the ARPA spending, and I believe this was for a boiler. Most of those expenditures occurred in 2022 and then wrapped up in 2023. Moving on to the next page, the EMS service is a little bit different. It's a standalone fund. It's intended to operate, it's an enterprise fund, meaning it's intended to operate like this. 2022, was, I'm starting to look at, or 2023, excuse me, as more, 2022 was the anomaly where we had a larger, fee, which is their EMS revenues. And in 2023, that's down, just $200,000. What this will lead into is a discussion more on cash, later on. You'll see in the revenue section, there's an other financing source of $168,950. That represents the tax levy that we did in order to pay 2023's principal and interest on the EMS portion of the loan due to the shortage in cash. When we're looking at expenditures, you'll see that in 2023, we spent 2.1 and our budget was 2. This is not the result of anything that the department itself did. All of the line items, you'll see wages and benefits, contractual services, all of those things are in line. The overage is being caused by the retirement calculations that we have to do in terms of GASB 68, where our accounting standards require that we recognize the impact of our retirement plan in the financials themselves. This is a calculation that is currently done by our auditors, and we don't have any visibility throughout the year of what that would be, and trying to estimate whether it's even going to be an expense or a negative expense is impossible. This is the result of the WRS program. It's audited and it's run by the state. Their audit is a 2-year lag. So what we saw in 2023 represents the financial market of 2021. So if we think back a couple of years, things had gone down. It's an actuarial calculation of expected earnings, longevity, and anticipated length of payout for its members. So we get that calculation after the year ends at audit time. So we have no peek ahead of what that's going to be. All other expenditures within the EMS department were under budget. If that was the one thing that tips them over the top, and there's no control either by the department or by me what that number will end up being. If we go on to the next page, I've given us a historical view from 2014 to present of what appears in our financial statement. You'll recall, most of you saw this a couple of years ago when we identified the problem of not having a proper allowance booked against our receivables. And so I've expanded this same schedule out to the present day. At that time, a couple of years ago, you'll recall that we had a negative cash position of $600,000. And we put in, we had to book the allowance, which was $879,000 at that time. And since then, we have not refilled those positions because the cash has not been there to support funding their salaries. Over the past 2 years, we've made headroads in our cash position. At the end of 2022, that had dropped from $614,000 down to $348,000 of cash. And in 2023, for the first time in several years, we have a positive cash balance. That's very small, but we have right-sized that $600,000 position over the last couple of years. One of the things that as we look at the statement of net position, there's, it details out all of our assets, which are namely cash and our receivables, and then our land, equipment. And then we have the section, for deferred outflows of resources. Those are all related to our pension plan, whereby we have to recognize all the future implications, year by year as we go forward. One thing to note, we had a positive cash. We also had, a receivable net of its allowance of $820,000 at the end of 2023. As compared to 2022, that was 863. And if you remember from the previous page, our revenues were very good in 2022, so we collected a lot of that, those bills that were sent out. If we look down at the liability section, there's we have a small amount of accounts payable, that due to other funds, that's due to the general fund, because the general fund had been, supplementing the cash. So you'll see in 2023, we did have $1,400. That was, an amount due to, the electric utility for some bills, so nothing to be concerned about there. Again, we have, under long-term liabilities, you'll see what the progress that's being made on the payment of the debt. At the end of 2023, we have $750,000 to go. That will be paid off in 2029. Another thing that you'll notice under that page is the net pension liability. And this is where things look a little weird, because the previous years we had an asset, and then all of a sudden we did about a $1.5 million turn because of the way our retirement plan is being accounted for, and we now show a liability instead of an asset. And what that really means is at the end of the page, when we're talking about our net position, you'll notice last year we have a portion for our assets. That's just everything we own, net of depreciation. And that is in a non-spendable form. And then last year, you'll see we had an asset of that $890,000, which meant that we had a negative position actually in the fund of $5,300. Meaning that we had not enough assets to cover all of our liabilities at the end of the day. Because of the way the WRS is accounted for, that asset is wiped out and we now have a liability. And it looks like we have $1,029,000 of available money, which can be a little bit misleading because at the top of the page, we have $2,000 in cash and $820,000 of receivables that have yet to be converted to cash. So we need to look at the whole picture and not just that ending number that looks very favorable in terms of having unrestricted money available. Do we want to stop for questions, or do we want to continue to be?
Are there any questions at this point in the report? Okay.
Your next page is your income statement, specifically for the EMS fund. Charges for services, you'll see in 2022 to 2023, a little bit less. The other are our grants. And then if we scroll down to expenditures, you'll see more expenditures in 22 and a dip there in 23. Depreciation is rather level. What the end result of the gross on an operating basis, it's just $20,000, for 2023, which is, an improvement over prior year where there was an actual operating loss. These are the things that, lead us to, understand that we aren't making enough in the fund itself and it needs to be supplemented, outside of the revenue it can generate on its own. So you'll see you had a non-operating grant, in 2023 that, is being used towards the purchase of the new ambulance. You have debt service, the 22,000 is interest on your loan, and then some smaller miscellaneous revenues, that pop up throughout the year. It's the next section of transfers, that kind of prop the fund up. So you see that 168,000 for the debt. And then your transfer out is funding some capital projects in the capital project fund. So all in all, while you had a positive change in net position, it's the result of receiving that grant, which is not a recurring event for the EMS fund. And then the transfer, the levy for the debt service. It did include on this section just where we are at for the budget, what our budget for 2024 is. Out the gate, we are predicting that operating loss of just under $32,000. And if we scroll down, you'll see that transfer section includes $170,000 for the ambulance. That's coming from our ARPA. So if we think about what funded the new, mostly funded that new ambulance that's coming, it's a grant and ARPA. So, you know, if we fast forward and think about purchase of the next ARPA or the next ambulance, we need to start planning up what the funding source of that's going to be. Again, there's a debt levy. The payment in 2024 is $171,000. And then there's also a transfer in $48,000 for the additional firefighter, the one of the three that has been held vacant since 2022. So that cash inflow is directly leading to having a positive net position in the fund. So with that, I did also include a cash flow, which kind of also details out where the cash is coming from and reconciles how we ended up at a positive cash balance at the end of 2023. One thing I will also mention for what we're seeing for 2024 is our vendor for EMS billing has gone through a system conversion. And anytime there is a software conversion, there are hiccups. They are experiencing some challenges, and that has resulted in less collections through their transition time. At the end of 2023, we ended our receivable balance of about $820,000. We're at about 1.2 million sitting in that receivable. So it's slower conversion to cash for us. We have been working with them to try to identify the reasons behind the slowdown, and you know, they are resolving them as we continue to grow, but it's a process. So just looking forward to the end of 2024, that cash may not remain in a positive position. And with that, any questions? There's a lot there for you to look at.
Let me ask a question of mine. Randy, have you ever seen these numbers before?
No, this is the first time we've seen.
So 2 years ago, you wouldn't have paid these things. Okay.
Bill, do you remember ever seeing these numbers?
Nothing of this extent. And I was going to say, thank you for all the work staff do on this. But I've got two items to add here. One, could you explain to the TV audience why fire department is being assessed for capital assets, land and construction? Because I know there are people out there that say, well, the city built the building. Why is it in this information? And I know there are people that say, oh yeah, you guys buy the fire trucks. The city built your buildings. Why is this in the plan? Because I think there are people that have a question about this.
Sure, it really boils down to how we account for the EMS portion of the business. Back in the 1990s, when this was all decided, they wanted the EMS portion to stand alone as a business, and of course the fire is part of the general fund. So when you are operating as a standalone business, all of your assets are tracked. Your share is tracked within your business model. So that includes an allocation that was done, I believe, in 2009, or maybe even before, of the percentage of the land in the building that could be attributable to the EMS portion of the business. So it's just a matter of how we report those numbers. In other organizations, EMS and fire may be combined in the general fund, and then you wouldn't see a separate debt or even the WRS portion that kind of throws our numbers, makes them look a little strange, would not be shown on the face of your financial statement. But because of the choices that were made long ago to set this up as an enterprise fund, you have to report your results as such.
The other comment I make is that this type of audit is really excellent for the commission. I don't know how much the public would actually understand. As we've noted, this is not something that we've seen frequently in the past. And I had included something in the packet with the updates. I had mentioned in several meetings previous that the Atlanta Fire Department is having problems maintaining fleet. Is aging rather rapidly. And what happened to the number of vehicles they had out of service, they did an internal audit. Apparently they'd never done one. And the internal audit found some critical errors in operation. I have no doubt that critical errors in our operation would be brought to our attention. This is something that really is critical for our operation. I greatly appreciate the chief of staff.
One thing I could offer, those first 3 pages is something that can be provided to you at whatever cadence you deem necessary.
Really?
It can be done quarterly. That's real-time information. The back pages are from our audited financials, which occurs in May, June, July, August, by the time we get our final report for our auditor. But the front 3 pages can be supplied quarterly if that's.
Randy, what do you think about quarterly?
Yeah, I think quarterly be timely. You know, and I think the advantage of being able to see these reports is, you know, just to be able to get a hard look at in terms of what the EMS is actually doing. And I think that was so hard for the public to understand this deficit of X number of dollars. And I think what happened, you know, what really all came down to is allocation of costs and assets. This really gives us a better understanding of where much is actually reference both EMS and the other side of the church. So I do appreciate it. Quarterly would be nice.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? I think I am on my 15th year on this. And I've never seen of information before. And it's not that we make decisions about it necessarily, but at least it'd be like going into a family and not knowing. You know, when I look at this, I think this is so straightforward and helps us know what position we're in, helps us know how to behave, if you like, in a circumstance that's tough. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. I wish it had had these kinds of numbers, this information, from the day I walked in the door. It just would have been more straightforward. Wonderful.
And I think I'm sharing that, the compliments, to the chiefs who are, you know, we look at our budget and they're within 97-98% of actual, spending. Demonstrates the care and thoughtfulness that they're putting into the budgets that you then approve. So that's the thing, you know, look at citywide and, you know, it's, that's in the budget that is $1,000 on 5. That speaks volume to the jobs that they're doing.
These have misunderstood. They were interested in departments. And at the same time, there's, and they don't always match up. And the city has to come first because that's the source of both our obligation and our opportunity. I mean, the chiefs have been very good about that, just as the city has been very good about recognizing the needs of the departments, the fire and police department. That piece, I think all of us can be proud of. I mean, that's part of what we are. All right, what do we need to do next now? Do we need a motion? Do we need a vote? Do we need,
No.
donuts? What?
It was just a review. She was just presenting her report.
Well, Jennifer, thank you very much. I don't think you realize how helpful this is. All right. We adjourn to closed session. This shouldn't take one. What that? Any future items for future meetings? Really? We're getting nothing. So we go to 18 on our agenda, adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin statute, chapter 19, .85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, to deliberate about stuff and particular renewed and service contracts for 2025 contract here. Gentlemen, for me, so helpful. And for all you do.
Motion to go into closed session.
We have a motion to move into closed session. Have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, that's fine. Any comments or questions? There are none. All in favor of the motion, we need a roll call.
Baker, Hirschman, Hanson,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. I'm sorry, but I've forgotten your name and that's
Galen.
Galen.
Caitlin?
Galen.
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 Huh?
Galen. Galen.